The night everything changed. Isabella Munro stood in the center of the Whitmore Estate ballroom, surrounded by crystal chandeliers and champagne glasses. 300 guests filled the room, all dressed in their finest clothes. They were celebrating her engagement to Marcus Whitmore, the man she thought she would spend forever with. The diamond ring on her finger caught the light as she raised her glass. Isabella smiled at the crowd, her heart full of happiness. She was 28 years old, owner of the most successful art gallery in Manhattan, and engaged to the heir of Whitmore Industries. Her life was perfect. Too perfect. "To my beautiful fiancé," Marcus said, his arm around her waist. His blue eyes sparkled as he looked at her. "Isabella, you've made me the happiest man alive." Everyone clapped. Isabella's best friend Sophia Chen stood near the front, wearing a red dress that hugged her curves. Sophia raised her glass and smiled, but something in that smile made Isabella's stomach twist. She pushed the feeling away. Tonight was supposed to be perfect. "I need some air," Isabella whispered to Marcus. "Don't be long," he said, kissing her cheek. "My father wants to make a speech soon." Isabella walked through the crowd, nodding at familiar faces. Art collectors she knew, business partners of the Whitmore family, and society people who loved to gossip. She stepped onto the terrace, breathing in the cool October air. That's when she heard the voices. "You did well, Marcus." She has no idea. It was Victor Whitmore, Marcus's father. His voice came from around the corner of the terrace. "I still think this is wrong, father." That was Marcus. Isabella froze. Her hand gripped the stone railing. "Wrong? We're securing our family's future," Victor said. "Isabella Munro's gallery is the key to laundering money from our offshore accounts. Once you marry her, we control everything. Her reputation makes our illegal art trades look legitimate." Sophia laughed again. "Marcus loves power and money. I'm just entertainment. You were the business deal." She leaned closer, her perfume expensive and choking. Poor Isabella. So talented, so successful, and so stupid. "Did you really think a man like Marcus Whitmore would love someone like you?" Isabella slapped her. The sound echoed in the quiet corner. Sophia's head snapped to the side, and a red mark appeared on her perfect skin. "You're going to regret that," Sophia hissed. "I already regret ever trusting you," Isabella said. She walked away, her head high. She found Marcus talking with his father and several business associates. "Marcus, we need to talk. Now." He looked annoyed. "Isabella, not now. We have guests." "I know everything," she said loudly. The conversation around them stopped. People turned to look. Marcus's face went pale. "What are you talking about?" "I heard you and your father on the terrace," Isabella said. Her voice carried across the room. More people stopped talking. "I know this engagement is fake. I know you're using me to launder money. I know Sophia has been spying on me." Victor Whitmore's face turned red with anger. "You foolish girl. You have no proof." "Don't I?" Isabella pulled out her phone. She had recorded everything from the terrace. Her hands had been shaking, but she had managed to hit record. She played it. Victor's voice filled the room, talking about illegal art trades, money laundering, and using Isabella's reputation. Marcus's voice agreeing to everything. The room exploded. People started talking at once. Cameras flashed as guests took pictures and videos. This would be all over social media within minutes. "You're finished," Isabella said to Marcus. She pulled the engagement ring off her finger and threw it at his feet. "We're done." She walked out of the ballroom, through the mansion, and out to the driveway. She called a car and left the Whitmore estate. She didn't look back. The destruction begins. Isabella thought. Isabella thought exposing Marcus was the end. She was wrong. It was just the beginning of her nightmare. The next morning, she woke up to 50 missed calls. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. She answered one. Isabella Monroe? An unfamiliar voice asked. Yes? This is Detective Sarah Chen with the NYPD. We need you to come to the station for questioning. Questioning about what? Art fraud and money laundering. We have evidence that your gallery has been involved in illegal activities. Isabella's blood went cold. That's impossible. I run a legitimate business. Please come to the station, Ms. Monroe. We have a warrant to search your gallery. They hung up. Isabella's phone rang again. Her lawyer. Isabella, don't say anything to anyone, Richard Miller said. The Whitmores are claiming you were the one running the illegal operation. They have documents with your signature. But I never signed anything illegal. The signatures look real. They've been planning this for a long time. Isabella sat on her bed, her world crumbling. The Whitmores weren't just going to let her expose them. They were going to destroy her first. Over the next 2 weeks, Isabella watched her life fall apart piece by piece. Her art gallery was shut down by the police. They seized everything, claiming it was evidence. Her entire collection, worth millions of dollars, was taken away. The media destroyed her reputation. Headlines called her a fraud, a criminal, and a con artist. The recording from the engagement party disappeared from the internet. Somehow, the Whitmores had it removed. Without evidence, it was her word against theirs. Her clients abandoned her. Artists she had worked with for years refused to answer her calls. Gallery owners blacklisted her. No one in the art world would work with her. Her bank accounts were frozen during the investigation. She couldn't access her money. The apartment she lived in was owned by a company connected to the Whitmores. They evicted her. Her friends disappeared. People she had known for years suddenly didn't know her. They were afraid to be connected to the scandal. Isabella ended up in a cheap hotel room with one suitcase of clothes and $300 in cash. That was all she had left. She sat on the bed and cried. She cried for the life she lost. She cried for the betrayal. She cried until she had no tears left. Then she got angry. 6 months later, a new beginning. The small coastal town of Crescent Bay, Maine, was nothing like Manhattan. There were no tall buildings, no art galleries, no society parties. Just a quiet main street, a rocky beach, and people who minded their own business. Isabella lived in a tiny studio apartment above a bookstore. She worked at the local coffee shop, the daily grind, making lattes and cleaning tables. Her hands, once soft from expensive lotions, were now rough from washing dishes. She had cut her long black hair short and dyed it dark brown. She wore glasses now, plain frames that changed her face. She kept her head down and spoke to as few people as possible. She was invisible, and that was exactly what she wanted. No one in Crescent Bay knew who Isabella Monroe was. The scandal had been big in New York, but here, no one cared about Manhattan society drama. She was just Bella, the quiet girl at the coffee shop. But Isabella hadn't come to Crescent Bay to hide forever. She came here to plan. Every night after work, she sat at her small desk with her laptop. She researched the Whitmore family business. She studied their investments, their properties, their partnerships. She learned everything about their company, looking for weaknesses. She also studied herself. The old Isabella had been too trusting, too naive. She believed in the good in people. She thought love and honesty mattered. That Isabella was dead. The new Isabella understood that the world was cruel, that people lied, and that sometimes you had to fight back. She was going to destroy the Whitmores. Not with accusations or recordings that could disappear. She would hit them where it hurt most, their business, their reputation, and their money. But she needed help. She needed resources. She needed someone who understood what she was trying to do. That's when she met Daniel Cross. The mysterious stranger. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon. The coffee shop was almost empty. Isabella was wiping down tables when the door opened. A man walked in, shaking water from his jacket. He was tall, maybe 6 feet, with dark hair that was starting to gray at the temples. He wore expensive jeans and a casual shirt, but Isabella could tell they cost more than most people's monthly rent. He had the kind of face that was interesting rather than handsome, strong jaw, dark eyes that seemed to see everything, and a slight scar above his left eyebrow. "Coffee, black," he said when he reached the counter. "Would you like anything to eat?" Isabella asked automatically. "No, just coffee." He pulled out a credit card. "Actually, make it 2 coffees. You look like you could use one." Isabella raised an eyebrow. "I'm working." "Your shift ends in 10 minutes, he said, glancing at the clock. I checked. "That's a little creepy," Isabella said, but she made 2 coffees. The man smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knew secrets. "I'm Daniel Cross. I've been waiting to meet you, Isabella Monroe." Isabella's hand froze. The coffee cup nearly slipped from her grip. No one here knew her real name. No one should know who she was. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said carefully. "My name is Bella." "Is it?" Daniel leaned against the counter. "Because 6 months ago, you were the owner of Monroe Gallery in Manhattan. You were engaged to Marcus Whitmore. You exposed a money laundering scheme at your engagement party, and then the Whitmores destroyed your life in revenge." Isabella's heart pounded. She looked around. Her manager was in the back room. The only customer was an old man reading a newspaper in the corner. "Who are you?" she whispered. "Someone who can help you," Daniel said. "I've been watching you, Isabella. You're smart. You've been researching the Whitmores every night. You're planning something. But you can't do it alone. You need resources, connections, and money." "Why would you help me?" "Because the Whitmores destroyed my brother's life 5 years ago," Daniel said. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. "They used the same tactics. False documents, planted evidence, character assassination. My brother killed himself because he couldn't handle the shame." Isabella's breath caught. "I'm sorry. I don't want sympathy. I want revenge," Daniel said. "And I think you do too. So here's my offer. I have the money and resources. You have the motivation and the inside knowledge of how they operate. We work together, and we bring them down." "This is insane," Isabella said. "I don't know you. Why should I trust you?" Daniel pulled out a folder and placed it on the counter. "Because I know things about the Whitmores that you don't. Things that will help you. Take this. Read it. If you're interested, meet me tomorrow at midnight at the lighthouse on the North Beach." He left the coffee shop before Isabella could respond. The folder sat on the counter, innocent and dangerous at the same time. Isabella's manager came out of the back room. "Who was that?" "Just a customer," Isabella said. That night, she opened the folder in her apartment. Inside were documents, photographs, and financial records. Evidence of crimes the Whitmores had committed going back 15 years. Property fraud, bribery, blackmail, and worse. Daniel had been investigating them for years. At the bottom of the folder was a note in neat handwriting: "Revenge is a dish best served cold, but it tastes better when served together." Isabella stared at the documents spread across her desk. The old Isabella would have been afraid. She would have taken this to the police and hoped for justice. But the new Isabella knew better. The police couldn't help her. The legal system couldn't help her. She had to do this herself. At midnight the next night, Isabella stood at the lighthouse on the North Beach. The wind whipped her short hair around her face. The ocean crashed against the rocks below. Daniel was already there, standing at the edge of the cliff. "I was hoping you'd come," he said without turning around. "I want revenge," Isabella said. "But I won't become like them. I won't hurt innocent people. Agreed, Daniel said. We target only the guilty. Victor, Marcus, and everyone who helped them destroy lives. What's the plan? Daniel finally turned to face her. His eyes gleamed in the moonlight. First, we give you a new identity. Not just a fake name, but a complete transformation. You become someone they would never suspect. Someone powerful in their world. And then? Then we infiltrate their business. We find every illegal deal, every dirty secret, every skeleton in their closet. We gather evidence that can't be deleted or dismissed. And when we have enough, Daniel smiled, and it was a predator's smile, we destroy them the same way they destroyed you. Publicly, completely, and permanently. Isabella looked out at the dark ocean. 6 months ago, she had been engaged to a man she loved. She had a successful career, good friends, and a bright future. All of it was a lie. Now she was starting over. But this time, she wasn't the naive girl who trusted too easily. She was someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who would make them pay for what they did. When do we start? Isabella asked. We already have, Daniel said. Welcome to your new life, Isabella. Or should I say, welcome back to New York. The wind howled around them as they stood at the lighthouse. 2 people with broken pasts and a common enemy. 2 people ready to risk everything for revenge. Isabella Monroe had fallen. Isabella Monroe had fallen. But she was about to rise again, and when she did, the Whitmores would learn that destroying someone's life came with consequences. The game was just beginning. Part 2, The Game of Revenge. Becoming Elena Hartley. Hold still, the makeup artist said. Isabella sat in the chair, watching her reflection transform. It had been 3 months since that night at the lighthouse. 3 months of preparation, training, and planning. Daniel had connections that Isabella never imagined. His tech company was worth billions, and he used that money to create her new identity. The woman in the mirror no longer looked like Isabella Monroe. Her hair was platinum blonde now, styled in elegant waves that fell past her shoulders. Colored contacts made her brown eyes a striking green. The makeup made her face look different, sharper cheekbones, fuller lips, more sophisticated. But the biggest change wasn't physical. It was the way she carried herself. Isabella had spent 3 months with private tutors learning to speak differently, walk differently, and think differently. She studied European accents until she could fake a subtle British lilt. She memorized art history beyond what she already knew. She learned about wine, fashion, and high society from around the world. Perfect, Daniel said, standing behind her. He handed her a passport. Meet Elena Hartley, international art consultant from London. Age 32, educated at Oxford, worked for Christie's auction house for 5 years before going independent. You specialize in authentication and art investment. Isabella looked at the passport. The photo showed her new appearance. Everything looked official and real because it was real. Daniel had created an entire paper trail for Elena Hartley going back years. The Whitmores will check my background, Isabella said. Let them. They'll find university records, work history, social media accounts going back a decade, and references from people who will. Swear they know Elena Hartley. Daniel smiled. I'm very good at what I do. Why are you so good at creating fake identities? Isabella asked, turning to look at him. Daniel's smile faded. After my brother died, I went after the people who destroyed him. I learned that sometimes you have to become someone else to get close to your enemies. I've created dozens of identities over the years. Did you get revenge for your brother? Yes, Daniel said simply. 3 of the people responsible are in prison. 2 lost everything they had. 1 disappeared, and I'm still looking for him. But the Whitmores were involved too, and they're the biggest targets. That's why I need you. Isabella stood up, smoothing down the designer dress she wore. It was midnight blue, elegant and expensive. Then let's not keep them waiting. Entering the lion's den. The Manhattan Art Gallery opening was the social event of the month. Every important person in the art world would be there, including the Whitmores. Victor Whitmore sat on the board of the gallery, and Marcus was trying to expand his father's business into the art market. Elena Hartley arrived in a private car, stepping onto the red carpet like she owned it. Photographers took pictures. She smiled, confident and untouchable. No one recognized Isabella Munro in this sophisticated woman. Inside, the gallery was filled with Manhattan's elite. Crystal chandeliers, expensive champagne, and conversations about money disguised as discussions about art. Isabella had been to 1,000 events like this before, but never as the center of attention. Elena Hartley? A man in an expensive suit approached her. I'm Thomas Webb, gallery director. We're honored to have you here. The honor is mine, Isabella said in her new accent. Your collection is impressive. I heard you recently authenticated a lost Rembrandt in Prague, Thomas said. That must have been exciting. It was, Isabella said smoothly. Daniel had planted that story, and it was all over the art world news. Elena Hartley was making a reputation as someone who could spot real masterpieces and expose fakes. Let me introduce you to some people, Thomas said, leading her through the crowd. Isabella's heart pounded as she saw familiar faces. People who had abandoned her when she was Isabella Munro now smiled at Elena Hartley, eager to make connections. The art world was shallow and cruel, and she was about to use that against them. Then she saw him. Marcus Whitmore stood near the bar, talking with a group of businessmen. He looked the same, tall, blonde hair perfectly styled, expensive suit, and that smile that used to make her heart race. Now it just made her angry. Marcus Whitmore, Thomas said, leading her over. I'd like you to meet Elena Hartley. Marcus turned, and his blue eyes swept over her. Isabella held her breath. Would he recognize her? Miss Hartley, Marcus said, extending his hand. I've heard about your work. Impressive. Isabella shook his hand, keeping her face neutral. He had no idea who she was. Mr. Whitmore. Your family's art collection is well known. I'd love to see it sometime. We rarely let outside consultants examine our private collection, Marcus said. His tone was polite but dismissive. Of course, Isabella said. Though I understand you recently acquired several pieces from the Baroque period. I specialize in that era. If you ever need authentication services, I'd be happy to help. Something flickered in Marcus's eyes. Interest. Actually, my father has been concerned about authentication. We've had some questions about a few pieces lately. Perfect. Isabella had known this would happen. Daniel's research showed that several pieces in the Whitmore collection were likely fakes, but the family didn't know yet. I'd be happy to take a look, Isabella said. My services are expensive, but I guarantee results. Money isn't a concern, Marcus said. The old arrogance was still there. I'll have my assistant contact you. As Marcus walked away, Thomas leaned close to Isabella. The Whitmores are very influential. If you work for them, your reputation will skyrocket. That's what I'm counting on, Isabella murmured. The first strike. 2 weeks later, Isabella stood in the Whitmore family gallery. It was part of their mansion, a private room filled with paintings worth millions of dollars. Victor Whitmore stood beside her, watching as she examined a painting from the 1600s. This is supposed to be a Caravaggio, Victor said. We paid $8 million for it 3 years ago. Isabella studied the painting carefully. She already knew it was a fake. Daniel's research had found the forger. But she needed to appear professional and thorough. She used special lights to examine the paint layers. She took samples of the canvas. She checked every detail while Victor and Marcus watched. Well? Victor asked impatiently. This is a fake, Isabella said calmly. A very good fake, but a fake nonetheless. The paint composition is wrong for the period. The canvas is aged artificially. And there are technical details that Caravaggio would never have missed. Victor's face turned red. That's impossible. We had it authenticated by experts. Then your experts were wrong or paid to lie, Isabella said. She pulled out her tablet and showed them the evidence. I'm sorry, Mr. Whitmore, but this painting is worthless. $8 million, Marcus said, his voice tight. I'm afraid so, Isabella said. Would you like me to examine your other pieces? If you purchased this from a specific dealer, there might be more fakes in your collection. Victor looked like he wanted to explode, but he controlled himself. Yes. Examine everything. I want a full report. Over the next 3 days, Isabella examined the entire Whitmore collection. She found 5 more fakes, each one worth millions of dollars. In total, the Whitmores had spent $35 million on worthless paintings. How did this happen? Victor demanded when she presented her report. You were targeted by an organized forgery ring, Isabella explained. They create fake authentication documents and bribe experts. You're not the only victims, but you are the biggest. We'll sue the dealers who sold us these pieces, Marcus said. You can try, Isabella said. But the dealers will claim they were fooled too. These cases take years in court, and you rarely recover the money. Your best option is to quietly remove the fakes and rebuild your collection carefully. Quietly? Victor laughed bitterly. This scandal will destroy our reputation in the art world. Not if you handle it correctly, Isabella said. Hire me as your exclusive art consultant. I'll help you build a new collection, and I'll authenticate every piece personally. That way, everyone knows the Whitmore collection is legitimate. It was a trap, and they walked right into it. Victor agreed immediately. Marcus looked suspicious, but he went along with his father's decision. Isabella walked out of the Whitmore mansion with a contract that gave her access to all their art dealings. She sat in her car and allowed herself a small smile. The first strike had landed. The Whitmores had lost $35 million and their reputation was damaged. But this was just the beginning. She called Daniel. It's done. I'm inside. Good, Daniel said. Now the real work begins. How did it feel seeing Marcus again? Isabella paused. She had expected to feel triumph or satisfaction. Instead, she felt empty. Marcus had looked at Elena Hartley with interest, maybe even attraction. But he had no idea that the woman he was flirting with was the woman he had destroyed. It felt like nothing, Isabella lied. He means nothing to me. Good. Keep it that way. Emotions will only complicate the plan. But as Isabella drove away from the Whitmore mansion, she couldn't shake the feeling that this revenge would be more complicated than she thought. The engagement announcement. 3 months passed. Isabella spent that time working closely with the Whitmores, authenticating art pieces and helping them rebuild their collection. She attended their business meetings, met their associates, and slowly learned the inner workings of their empire. She also spent time with Marcus. It wasn't planned. He started asking her to dinner to discuss art deals. Those dinners turned into long conversations about art, life, and dreams. Marcus talked about feeling trapped in his father's shadow, about wanting to build something of his own. Isabella listened and smiled and played her part perfectly. But sometimes, late at night, she remembered why she was doing this. She remembered the betrayal, the humiliation, and the year she spent rebuilding her life from nothing. Then one evening, Marcus invited her to a family dinner. My father wants to discuss expanding our art investments, he said. And I'd like you to be there. Isabella arrived at the Whitmore mansion wearing a green dress that matched her contact lenses. The dining room was elegant, with a table that could seat 20 people. Tonight, only 5 chairs were occupied. Victor sat at the head of the table. Marcus sat to his right. And to Isabella's shock, Sophia Chen sat to his left. Elena, Victor said warmly. Thank you for coming. I believe you know Sophia Chen, Marcus's fiancée. The room spun. Isabella gripped her chair to steady herself. Fiancé, she repeated, her voice carefully neutral. We just got engaged last week, Sophia said, smiling that perfect smile. She wore a diamond ring that probably cost more than most people's cars. Marcus finally proposed. I've been waiting so long. Isabella looked at Marcus. He met her eyes but said nothing. His expression was unreadable. Congratulations, Isabella managed. The word tasted like poison. During dinner, Isabella watched them. Sophia hung on Marcus's arm, laughing at his jokes, playing the perfect future wife. Marcus seemed uncomfortable. He barely looked at Sophia. Instead, his eyes kept drifting to Elena. After dinner, Marcus found Isabella on the terrace. The same terrace where she had overheard his betrayal a year and a half ago. I'm sorry you had to find out that way, Marcus said quietly. Why would you apologize to me? Isabella asked. I'm just your art consultant. Elena, Marcus ran his hand through his hair. This engagement isn't what it looks like. It looks like you're marrying Sophia Chen. My father arranged it. It's a business merger. Sophia's family has connections in Asia that we need. So you're selling yourself again, Isabella said before she could stop herself. Marcus looked at her sharply. Again? Isabella realized her mistake. Elena Hartley wouldn't know about Marcus's past. I just mean that marrying for business seems cold. It is, Marcus said. He moved closer. Elena, if circumstances were different, if I had met you before all this was arranged. But you didn't, Isabella said, stepping back. Her heart was pounding. This couldn't be happening. Marcus couldn't have feelings for Elena when he had destroyed Isabella. I know, Marcus said. But I can't stop thinking about you. These past 3 months, getting to know you, I feel like I can actually be myself. I can talk to you about things that matter. With Sophia, it's just surface. With you, it's real. Isabella wanted to laugh. Or cry. Or scream. He had no idea that Elena was Isabella, that he was falling for the woman he had betrayed. You're engaged, she said firmly. I don't get involved with engaged men. I know. You're right. Marcus looked away. I just wanted you to know. He walked back inside, leaving Isabella alone on the terrace. She gripped the railing, breathing hard. This wasn't part of the plan. Marcus wasn't supposed to have feelings for Elena. And she wasn't supposed to feel this confusing mix of emotions, anger, satisfaction, and something else. She didn't want to name. Her phone buzzed. A text from Daniel, we found something. Victor Whitmore has been bribing city officials. We have proof. This could bring him down. Isabella looked back at the mansion. Through the window, she could see Marcus sitting next to Sophia, his father talking animatedly about business. They all looked so perfect, so successful, so untouchable. But they weren't. Isabella had the power to destroy them now. She had evidence of fake art dealing, of bribery, of fraud. She could expose it all and watch them fall. So why did she hesitate? She texted Daniel back, not yet. I need more time. Time for what? Daniel replied. Isabella didn't answer because she didn't know. Time to figure out if Marcus's feelings were real? Time to understand her own confused emotions? Time to decide if revenge was worth the price? She left the mansion that night without saying goodbye. As her car pulled away, she saw Marcus watching from a window. Even from a distance, she could see the longing in his expression. This is getting complicated, she whispered to herself. The private investigator's discovery. 2 weeks after the engagement announcement, Isabella met Daniel at his penthouse apartment. It overlooked Central Park, all glass and modern furniture and the kind of luxury that came from real wealth, not inherited money. We have a problem, Daniel said, pouring her a glass of wine. What kind of problem? Marcus hired a private investigator to look into Elena Hartley's past. Isabella's blood went cold. How do you know? Because I have people watching the Whitmores, Daniel said calmly. The investigator is good. He's already contacted your supposed university in Oxford. But you said the paper trail was perfect. It is. He won't find anything suspicious. But it means Marcus is digging into your background. Why would he do that unless? Daniel studied her face. Unless he's developing feelings for you. He's engaged to Sophia, Isabella said. That doesn't answer my question. Is Marcus falling for Elena? Isabella looked out at the city lights. He said some things. About wishing he'd met me before the engagement. But it doesn't matter. This is about revenge, not feelings. Feelings complicate everything, Daniel said. My brother fell in love with one of his targets once. It destroyed his objectivity. He made mistakes. That's how the Whitmores caught him. Isabella turned sharply. Your brother was involved with someone from the Whitmore circle? Daniel's expression darkened. Her name was Catherine Whitmore. Victor's niece. She was different from the rest of the family. Kind, genuine. My brother thought he could save her from them. Instead, they used her to trap him. What happened to her? She disappeared after my brother died. Some people say Victor paid her to leave the country. Others say. Daniel didn't finish the sentence. Isabella sat down, processing this new information. You never told me this. Because it's personal. And because I wanted you to understand, the Whitmores don't care who they hurt. They'll use anyone, even family, to protect their power. So what do we do about the investigator? We let him investigate, Daniel said. He'll find exactly what we want him to find. But you need to be more careful around Marcus. If he's developing feelings, he'll be watching you more closely. I can handle Marcus Whitmore. Can you? Daniel's dark eyes studied her. Because from where I'm standing, you're getting emotionally involved too. I'm not, Isabella said firmly. But even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. The charity gala. The annual Whitmore Foundation Gala was the biggest society event of the year. 1,000 guests, tickets starting at $10,000 each, and enough wealth in one room to solve world hunger. But instead, they bid on art pieces and congratulated themselves on their charity. Isabella wore a silver dress that cost more than her old monthly rent. Her blonde hair was styled in an elegant updo. Diamond earrings borrowed from Daniel's collection sparkled at her ears. She looked like she belonged in this world of wealth and power. Marcus found her almost immediately. He looked handsome in his tuxedo, but there were dark circles under his eyes. He looked tired. Elena, he said, his face lighting up. You came. I wouldn't miss it, Isabella said. Your father invited me personally. My father invites everyone personally. I'm glad you're here. He offered his arm. Would you like to see the art collection before the auction starts? Isabella took his arm, ignoring the way her heart jumped at his touch. They walked through the gallery, past paintings worth millions of dollars. Marcus talked about each piece, passionate and knowledgeable. This was the Marcus she remembered falling in love with, the man who loved art, who could spend hours discussing brushstrokes and color theory. This was my mother's favorite, Marcus said, stopping in front of a painting of a garden at sunset. She died 5 years ago. Cancer. I'm sorry, Isabella said softly. She was the best person I knew, Marcus said quietly. Kind, generous, always saw the good in people. She was nothing like my father. Was she happy? Isabella asked. In her marriage? Marcus was quiet for a moment. No. My father married her for her family's connections. She knew it. But she stayed because of me. She wanted me to have a stable family. He looked at Isabella. She told me once that her biggest regret was not leaving, not choosing love over duty. Is that why you're marrying Sophia? Isabella asked. Duty? I don't have a choice. Everyone has a choice. Not everyone, Marcus said. He moved closer. The gallery was empty except for them. Elena, I need to tell you something. Before he could continue, Sophia appeared. She wore a red dress that clung to her curves, and her dark hair was styled in waves. She looked beautiful and dangerous. There you are, darling, Sophia said, linking her arm through Marcus's. Her eyes swept over Isabella with barely concealed hostility. Miss Hartley. How lovely to see you again. Ms. Chen, Isabella said coolly. I hope you're not monopolizing my fiancé's time, Sophia said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. We have guests to greet. Of course, Isabella said. I was just admiring the collection. As they walked away, Isabella heard Sophia's voice. That woman is too interested in you, Marcus. I don't trust her. She's our art consultant, Sophia. Don't be paranoid. I'm not paranoid. I'm observant. Isabella smiled to herself. Good. Let Sophia be suspicious. It was time to turn up the heat. The secret recording. Later that night, after the gala ended, Isabella was in Daniel's car, replaying an audio recording. She'd planted a small microphone in the Whitmore's private study earlier that evening. It was risky, but it paid off. Victor Whitmore's voice came through clearly. The merger with the Chen family is crucial. Their Asian markets will expand our reach. But I need you focused, Marcus. I'm focused, father. Are you? Because I've noticed you spending a lot of time with that Elena Hartley woman. She's helping us rebuild the art collection. She's also beautiful and single. Don't complicate things now. You marry Sophia in 3 months. After that, if you want to have affairs, I don't care. But right now, stay focused on the business. I understand. Do you? Because I remember what happened with Isabella Monroe. Isabella's breath caught. They were talking about her. That was different, Marcus said quietly. Was it? You developed feelings for her. It made you weak. You hesitated when I told you to end things. If I hadn't forced your hand, you might have actually married that pathetic girl. She wasn't pathetic. She was poor and naive. She would have been a liability. Sophia understands our world. She knows this is business. Elena Hartley is the same kind of risk Isabella was. Beautiful women make you stupid, Marcus. There was silence. Then Marcus spoke, his voice tight. I did what you asked with Isabella. I destroyed her life because you ordered me to. I won't make that mistake again. Good. Because if Elena becomes a problem, I'll handle her the same way I handled Isabella. One phone call to the right people, and her reputation is finished. The recording ended. Isabella sat in the dark car, shaking. Daniel watched her from the driver's seat. Did you hear that? Isabella whispered. Marcus said he developed feelings for me. Real feelings. Victor forced him to betray me. Does that change anything? Daniel asked. I don't know, Isabella admitted. He still did it. He still destroyed my life, even if his father made him. Following orders doesn't excuse the crime, Daniel said. But it does complicate the revenge. Isabella looked out the window at the city. Somewhere in that city, Marcus was lying in bed next to a woman he didn't love, trapped in a life his father chose for him. Just like she had been trapped in the ruins of her destroyed life. We need to move faster, Isabella said. Victor just threatened Elena. Which means we're getting too close. It's time for the final phase. Are you sure? Once we start, there's no going back. Isabella thought about the recording. About Marcus's voice saying she wasn't pathetic. About learning that his feelings had been real, even if his actions had been cruel. Then she thought about the year she spent cleaning tables in Maine, sleeping in a studio apartment, and crying herself to sleep every night. She thought about how the Whitmores had taken everything from her without mercy. "I'm sure," she said. "Let's finish this." Part 3, The Reckoning. The investigation. It started with an anonymous tip to the FBI. Someone sent them evidence of money laundering, tax fraud, and bribery involving Whitmore Industries. The evidence came from documents that Elena Hartley had copied during her months working with the family. Within a week, federal agents raided the Whitmore mansion and corporate offices. They seized computers, files, and artwork. The news exploded across every media outlet. The mighty Whitmore family was under investigation. Isabella watched it unfold from Daniel's penthouse. News helicopters circled the Whitmore mansion. Reporters crowded the gates. Victor Whitmore's face was on every screen, looking angry and frightened. "It's working," Daniel said, watching the news. "The FBI has enough evidence to charge Victor with at least a dozen crimes. He's looking at 20 years in prison." "And Marcus?" Isabella asked. Marcus wasn't directly involved in most of the illegal activities. His father kept him out of the worst deals. He'll probably avoid jail time. Isabella should have felt satisfied. She should have felt triumphant. Instead, she felt empty. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. "Elena?" It was Marcus. He sounded desperate. "I need to see you. Please." "Why?" "Because everything is falling apart, and I don't know who else to turn to. Please. Meet me at the gallery. The one where we first met." Isabella looked at Daniel. He shook his head, warning her not to go. But she grabbed her coat anyway. "I have to," she said. "This is a mistake." "Probably. But I need to face him. I need him to know who I really am." The confession. The Manhattan Art Gallery was closed. Isabella used her old key to get in. Marcus stood in the center of the main room, surrounded by paintings. He looked terrible, unshaven, his suit wrinkled, his eyes red from lack of sleep. "Thank you for coming," he said when he saw her. "What do you want, Marcus?" "I want to know if you did this. If Elena Hartley gave the FBI that evidence." Isabella's heart pounded. "Why would you think that?" "Because you had access to everything. And because..." Marcus moved closer. "Because I've been thinking about something. About how you know things, USH.